For years now, the BCS has been criticized more than ever this season. People say that it's not a good system and that a playoff system will be better in finding a national champion. I'm here to defend the BCS, to tell you why it is a better and the best system of finding a real champion than a playoff system. You know, hear a lot of arguments for this year, but the thing is, this year doesn't happen very often. How often has there been a three-way tie in one conference? How often is there all these teams with one or two losses in a season? It doesn't happen that often. So, I'm here to give you the pros of the BCS, why it does provide a better college football season and a better champion than any playoff system in any other sport can do. Now, I think we can all agree that the college football regular season is the greatest regular season there is in all sports. I think most avid fans will agree with that. Every single week, your team can win it all or can lose it all. It's how it's set up. Teams aren't given leeway weeks where they can lose one week but say it's okay, we can get back into it. Even if you allow for the top 8 spots, think about it. Last year, Texas versus Texas Tech. An awesome game, and Tech pulls it out at the end. If there was a playoff system, all that would be for Texas would be just an inconvenience. But they're still getting in because we took the top 8. But it wasn't. It was more dramatic because it knocked one team out of it or made one team have to worry about not being able to get in, losing control of their fate. But let's look at the basketball season last year in college basketball. Everyone raves about March Madness. Now, March Madness is fun, that segment of the season, but there's a longer season. I mean, there are many people who don't even watch the entire college football season, basketball season, or any of the college basketball season. All they care about is March Madness. I mean, and here's one example. Last year, Memphis only lost one game last year, but they were still a top seed. Now, the game they lost was to Tennessee in an awesome game in Knoxville, back and forth in a 1-point loss to the Tennessee Volunteers. And it was fun to watch, and at the time it was great, but in the grand scheme, and even after the game, Memphis was in no trouble. Memphis didn't have to worry about anything. It was just an inconvenience. It was annoying because we don't get to be undefeated now. But they still got a number 1 seed and we're able to go to the Final Four. The BCS makes games mean more. They make people care more. That means you want to watch it more. And also, people say that a playoff system is the best way to find a true champion. I don't agree with that. I think that the regular season record should speak for itself. Think of this past year's NFL Super Bowl. The Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Arizona Cardinals. Now, the Arizona Cardinals being in the Super Bowl is equivalent to Virginia Tech being in the national championship. Now, can any of us really agree that Virginia Tech deserved to be in the national championship? Do you think Virginia Tech was really the top 2 teams? Now, some people say about a playoff system, well, there's no excuse. You lose in a playoff system, then you go home. So why are we putting more emphasis on these games at the end when those teams who wouldn't have gotten to the BCS championship didn't take care of business during the regular season? The teams in the top seeds, the New York Giants, the Tennessee Titans, they took care of their business on the field in the regular season. But because they lose one game in the playoffs, teams with much worse records went ahead of them, especially the Arizona Cardinals getting to the Super Bowl. So what the BCS does, it's not about trying to make teams feel good or making it so you can accept that they lose. It finds the best 2 teams that's possible. Now, this past season was tough. A lot of one-loss teams, and it's hard to get past that. But let's remember 2005 when Texas played USC. 2 undefeated teams. No one denied those are 2 best teams in the country. If we had had a playoff system that year, there was a possibility that one of those teams might have had an off game and got knocked out. Now, do you still agree that the team that knocked the Longhorns or the Trojans out would have been a better team than that one? I mean, we see upsets all the time. And upsets that happen during the regular season, those seem to be okay. But if they happen during a playoff system, the team that upset them gets to move on. And they usually don't do as well. Look in the NBA a couple years ago with the Dallas Mavericks, who was the number 1 seed, best record in the country, and got knocked out in the first round by Golden State. Now, many people would agree that if Dallas had won that series, they would have gone on to the finals. Golden State, however, won that series, knocking Dallas out, and then going on to get beat in the next series by Utah. So, I mean, do you really think that Golden State was a better team than Dallas, at least over season wide? I mean, the record was nowhere close to what Dallas was. They were the 8th seed. Dallas was the 1 seed. So you're putting, what a playoff system does, it puts too much emphasis on the games at the end of the year rather than have your regular season and your resume speak for yourself. In college basketball, when you build, they talk about building a resume. But all that does is it's seeding. Everyone still has a chance to get in. And I don't believe that a team like George Mason, who plays hardly any competition throughout the year, compared to what other teams do, has the right to have the same opportunity as a UConn or a UCLA or a Kansas. Because once you give a team off that opportunity, any team can get hot. So we try to crown the champion who is the best at one part of the season or the team that was the best of all year. And that's what the BCS does. Not only does it do that, but it brings in revenue for the sport and the schools as well. Now people say, let's make the bowl games a playoff series. Let's make the BCS bowl games a playoff, and people move on. But that will not make near as much money as each game having its own championship. Because let's be real, the people who sponsor the Rose Bowl want the 2 teams that are in the Rose Bowl to think about the Rose Bowl. In a playoff system, at the end of the game, whoever wins their first game, and they talk to the reporters, what do they say? They say, well, this was a good game, we're happy to get the win, we're moving on to next year, to the next week. Then it makes the Rose Bowl and those BCS traditions fade. The bowl traditions fade because no one cares about the bowl games anymore. They're just looking ahead to the next game. What the BCS and what the bowl system in general does, it lets teams, especially smaller teams who may not deserve to be in the national championship, they get to have their own championship. They get to end their season on a high note. The BCS does that. A playoff system does not provide the best champion all the time. The BCS does more than likely of all time. A playoff system, it's a spectacle. It's dramatic. It makes people, involved more. But what the BCS is not about just entertainment and trying to see what the majority wants. And the argument against the BCS stating that the majority of the United States is against it does not mean that BCS is not the best way to do things. There have been times throughout this country that the majority has believed one way and we found out it was wrong. So that argument doesn't work that 20% or less than 20% support the BCS. There's a time in our country where less than 20% believed one thing and it turned out being right. It happens all the time. So the BCS is the best way to find a champion. People don't get happy, that causes controversy and whatnot. But at the end of the year, there is no 3 or 4 loss team getting a national championship. The 1 or the no loss teams are there. The teams that deserve to be, the 2 teams that are there are always teams that deserve to be there. Maybe there are teams that get left out who probably have a valid reason to get in. But what the BCS does, it keeps out teams who did not deserve to be there. It keeps there's 2 teams that are there, always 2 teams that can make an argument that they are the best. And more than often, at least in my opinion, it gets it right. So, that's my state in the argument. We'll see. So let you leave your response and tell me what you think about this argument for the BCS.